Om Lokaha Samastaha Suki no Bhavantu. May all beings be happy and peaceful. Hi everyone, it's Phoenix. Welcome. It is Wednesday, March 22nd. We are an hour after FOMC. I've been trading. Crazy market as usual. Par for the course. I'm going to do my best to simplify what's going on right now and to simplify my strategies and where I'm focusing my trades. I'm trading both stocks and crypto, but I'm going to focus on crypto in this video. So before I get into the charts, I just want to briefly mention the Heaven on Earth retreat. I'll be co-facilitating this end of July, July 30th to August 6th. There's plenty of time. If you're curious about it, you should DM me on Twitter. You can find out more information. These are all good friends of mine, really amazing people, and really going to be a fantastic experience. Lots of great food. And it will be a really nice welcome reprieve for me personally. uh, Especially if we continue at this pace. I mean, I have no complaints because the volatility is really good for traders, right? Not so good for investors, but this is how it is. And so this is how you learn to adapt, and this is where we learn to short when it's appropriate. And so I have been doing just that today. I am leaning to the downside after FOMC. 25 basis points hike, basically what we expected, and a little brief pump here. I did not short Bitcoin because I don't, as a rule, I don't trade during FOMC, at least not the majors, because of my strategies where I typically have much tighter stops and I will size up. And I don't like to do that in a volatile environment for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now, with that said, I will trade alts. And I have shorted 3 alts in particular: Phantom, Injective, and Matic. Injective is giving me a little bit of a problem. Oh, it's coming back down now. So these, we'll go through these in a moment, but let's just look at what Bitcoin's doing and try and figure this out, okay? So these levels that I have drawn here are actually weekly. Actually, this is based off of last week, and you have the purple are the extremes, and then this dotted line is the mid here, and then I'm looking at quarter levels as well. But as I mentioned, I think it was in one of my tweets, and I've been exploring this possibility. This could be another deviation similar to what we saw here. This deviation. So this above this 25, we're looking at 25,200 or so, potentially a one big deviation. So if we break down, what we're looking for right now is a breakdown beneath the Monday low, which we've done that already, but don't have a clean break below, don't have confirmation of that. It's around 27, I think it's around 27,200, 300 or so, depending on the chart you're looking at. That's a pretty ominous candle right there. There's 25 minutes to the close. It's a 4H candle. Biggest red candle. Yeah, biggest red candle we've seen in this rally here. Notice that. So I'm paying attention to the size of the candles. I'm paying attention to the momentum, which has clearly been to the downside, okay? And you see each time it tries to push back up, it gets crushed down again, okay? So that's what happened here. That's what happened here. These are 15-minute candles now. So I've dropped down to the lower time frames. You can see on the higher time frame, we had the deviation above this critical level here, this 28,500 level, okay? So looked like breakout buildup, did break out. I was suspicious. I wasn't trading this. I was at the gym sort of watching this. And then we see this sort of spike here. Okay, normally if FOMC wasn't happening, this was already a short trigger for me. When you see this SFP like this with this big of a wick on the 15-minute, aggressive traders, this is an entry. And I actually was considering taking this here, but I just, again, I've seen it go both ways with FOMC. It's more of a gamble. I don't like gambling. So, I mean, we are all sort of gamblers in a sense, but we're more using the probabilities in our favor. And so this was a short trigger, and now it's continuing to potentially give a short trigger. The question is, will it come back up and retest this diagonal? It may do that. We may come back up here somewhere and then come back down. I would maybe feel more comfortable shorting this. I don't know that it will. It's always hard to say. But you see what's happening right here. Also paying attention to the DXY and stocks right now. The DXY was really getting crushed here, but now it seems to be recovering. And if we look at this from a weekly perspective, actually, let's look at this from a monthly perspective. Notice this here. This was last month, February. It almost came down. It's coming down here. It could be finding support at this 101.93, which also happens to be this level here for the DXY, curiously enough, is the mid between this high here and this low here. So that's a pretty critical level for the DXY. And it seems like initially, we don't know yet. It's too early to tell. If it finds support here, anywhere around here, that's going to lead to, in my humble opinion, a stronger sell-off in both stocks and crypto. S&P has been up and down today. Everything's been up and down today, but notice the pattern, okay? Notice the market structure, okay? Pretty clean market structure there for the S&P 500. Of course, if we're not, I mean, we are technically range bound here. We are in the middle of this range, but it's the probability here, especially with a wick like that after FOMC, we've got still have 23 minutes into the close, so can't say for sure, but looks like more downside. And the mega cap stocks that have really been just crushing it back inside weekly ranges after deviating here. Tesla also looks like possibly a lower high, lower low, okay? Break in market structure, perhaps here, okay? Amazon also back inside weekly, monthly, quarterly levels here, okay? So we're sort of at the extreme levels here. Meta's been somewhat of an anomaly, but I definitely wouldn't fade that here. But that's just giving you a picture of what's happening with stocks. And so meanwhile, Bitcoin is really selling off really strong, okay? And that is going to lead the pack, right? So I was waiting patiently for alts, waiting for entries on altcoins until I got some conviction behind the Bitcoin move. And this, again, it's continuing. We're continuing to sell off here. Where is it going to find support? Now we're breaking down below. This would have been a great short. Good on you if you got into this. I don't feel so bad because I feel like the alts, I'm really happy with the positioning of the alts here. This looks like the end of this rally to me, okay? It's too soon to tell for absolute certain, but I would say that I have a pretty high conviction that this rally is done. Again, this could be a larger deviation. The real test for Bitcoin is going to be 25,200, okay? So when it comes back down to this level, then we reevaluate. If it gets back below 25,200, then and we see continued weakness down there. Let's just say that it bounces around here, okay, and it gets back inside here, okay, from here starts to break down. That's a massive, I would size up massively on this, because at this point, again, just like this deviation, the probability is that not only does it push down to the lower bounds of the range here, okay, which would be around 18,250, but in all likelihood pushes lower. And this is where we get the potential for the spring, where it comes down actually below this level here, and we put in new lows this year. That's possible, okay? But I don't want to get too far ahead. Right now, we're just focused on the short-term price action. It's always good to have context and understand the bigger picture. Is this all making sense to you? I know that I'm moving quickly, but it's at that sort of a market right now. There's a lot going on. Let me get some comments in the chat here. And let me get some likes if you're watching this video. I didn't ask for likes on any of my videos for 2 years. Now I'm asking for likes because it does make a difference. Okay, so altcoins. Now, the reason, again, I've been really watching, especially Phantom. What's my strategy with altcoins? There's so many of them and they're all over the place all the time, right? I look at those that, generally speaking, I tend to focus on mid to larger caps. I know that the small caps are very enticing, but they're also extremely volatile. Like Injective is kind of a borderline, and normally I wouldn't consider something like Injective because as we saw here, notice this right here. So I entered a short position on Injective and look at what it did. Look at what it's done in the last hour, hour and a half. I mean, it's just total, it's all over the place, and wider stops make sense, but now it looks decidedly to be headed south. And you can see my entry here. I averaged in on this because I was adding to this on the way down. So 7-8% variance here in an hour, you know, and that's because there's less liquidity. And so again, starting out as a trader, it doesn't really make sense to trade this if you don't know what you're doing. And so we wait for the trigger with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is giving the trigger right now. Bitcoin, the dominance is probably decreasing. Yeah, dominance is coming down now. Bitcoin gave the trigger, okay? And so instead of trying to catch this move here, I could have done this with loser stops, but now I'm doing a copy trading thing, and I really don't want to screw that up. I don't really care so much because I know that these alts, when they really come down, they're going to go down much further. And so Phantom is one of them that if you look on the daily and we just take a look and see, okay, look at the market structure. Again, we're just looking at the basics of price action here, okay? What is going on? What is that? A series of lower highs and lower lows. And look at these wicks on the daily for Phantom, okay? This is a very juicy trade for me. So there's two levels that I'm looking at here. There's this here, okay? The initial upper bounds of the range, and there's this here, okay? And so anywhere near here, and I'm looking to be a short seller, given that Bitcoin shows weakness, at the first sign of weakness for Bitcoin, because I want to get in as close to this level as possible, okay? And so my strategy with the altcoins is I usually do a 10x trade. Whatever I'm trading, I risk. Okay, so if it's 1,000 or 10,000, I'm risking that much in the trade. Okay, if I get stopped out, it's like a 9.5% stop, somewhere between 9 and 10%. If I get stopped out, then I lose that money, right? So I already know my risk up front, and I will go in about half, maybe a quarter, depending on what's going on. So I went in half, and then I saw continued weakness with Bitcoin, and then I went all in, okay? And now, basically, I need a wider stop on something like this than I would on Bitcoin. On Bitcoin, I can get away with sometimes 2-3% if I'm taking a similar trade. Most of my trades on the majors are 1 to 1.25%. And that's when I'm really precise and I have really high conviction, and it's not during FOMC. But so stop losses, risk management, this is what they won't teach you. I'm not just going to share the levels with you. That's one aspect of it. But the risk management is key here, because notice what these do in 15 minutes, okay? Look at what's happened in 15-minute candles, okay? Be prepared in case it runs up again. But what did I see here? What happened that made me really light up and want to trade this, okay? Swing fail, this level here, okay? Near the top of this key level here, okay? So I assess, this was my initial entry here, and then I added down. What was going on here? There's already limited potential upside here. It's already near the top of this critical level for me. This would be where I'd lose that, I'd get stopped out, I'd lose whatever I'm putting into it. It was worth it. It was worth it for me, whereas before it wasn't. I wouldn't have taken the trade, however, had I not seen weakness with Bitcoin. I would not have taken the trade because it wouldn't make sense, because it could easily run back up here and then clear this level and continue. Because even though we have this right here, it looks like, well, obviously, but if we zoom out and we see, well, there still was a lot of potential room for Phantom to run back up again. And this, even if we zoom out from here, well, look at where Phantom was before. So there's not really any certainty. What gives us certainty is Bitcoin. Forget Ethereum. I mean, Ethereum is going to follow Bitcoin as well. And Ethereum actually, I mean, it's been all over the place. I'll cover that in a moment, but Ethereum is showing continued weakness down beneath the mid on the ETH-BTC chart. Okay, so but I wasn't interested in shorting Ethereum because A, the PA is messy, and B, it's already down here. It could spike back up. If it spiked back up near this weekly level or back at the mid, then I'd probably be looking to be a short seller of Ethereum if I can see clear levels and clear invalidation. But I haven't been getting that so much with Ethereum these last couple of days. Bitcoin's been a lot cleaner. So Bitcoin is the main focus, and then we get into alts like Phantom, and then Injective is another one. And by the way, it's not too late, okay? So Injective here, look at that, okay? Had to ride out a little bit of volatility here because it actually literally in one candle looked like, you know, this is not for the faint of heart. This is not for those that are timid, okay? You have to really have some conviction. And again, Bitcoin gave me the confidence to hold on to this. And it's a pretty sizable trade because I'm only trading alts today. I'm not trading Bitcoin. If I were trading Bitcoin, I might only trade Bitcoin. Like when I trade Bitcoin, I will size up to such an extent that every 15-minute candle really counts, okay? But when I'm trading alts in this sort of a position, what I'm trying to do here is really catch sort of the macro top. Look at this. Look at what Injective is doing right now. Okay. And does it make sense? Well, yeah, Injective has been up near this key level here, this 454. Where did I identify that? Okay. A previous key level here. Okay. So this whole area here, I mean, waiting for confirmation could be down beneath here. Okay. This 387, but either way, look at how far this has to go. This is why I was interested in Injective. If it gets back to the yearly open, which I suspect that most of the alts will go back to the yearly open, okay? As much as a lot of bag holders do not want to hear that, I suspect that it will happen. Where is the yearly open? We're back beneath the weekly. I use this indicator because it helps me to kind of gauge what's going on. This is the weekly level. This is the monthly level. I can't remember what it's called, but it's this here. You can find it if you look hard enough. Here's the yearly open. We're going to turn this on. Look at where it is. That's a 70%, almost a 70% move for Injective. So if I catch this and I hold this and it really drops here, and I'm not going to be taking profits on this, especially if Bitcoin continues to show weakness. And then if Bitcoin breaks back into 25,200, then I'm going to hold this all the way down. Okay. But if Bitcoin at 25,200 starts to show some strength, then I'll probably take some profits and wait it out. But I've been positioning for this for weeks now. Okay. And each time, sometimes it runs back up, and that's the nature of the game. You've got to get out, or you take a small loss, and then you try again. You take another stab at it. And so with Injective, I feel like its time has come. Look at this. Notice what's happening here. This is the 3 drives pattern here, or triple tap, whatever you want to call it. Okay. There you go. Distribution pattern. Okay. Looks like it wants to head south. I could be wrong on this. And again, as soon as Bitcoin really perks up, if it does, then Injective will likely rip back up again. May come back again, retest up here, may go up higher. But I think looking at the bigger picture, wants to come down. Matic is another one that just was an obvious short for me because, again, I'm only focused on a few key levels. This here, this is the larger range, okay, that we're working with. And this is one massive distribution. This is one massive deviation. This also you could identify as a head and shoulders if that's how you're trading it. Double top here, okay, came up, lower high here. Looking at the price action, looking at the market structure, does this look like it wants to go back up and try again up here? I mean, it could, but it doesn't look like it to me. And so I'm targeting at minimum for Matic, we're looking at a 28% move, you know, over the next week or two, if depending on how quickly Bitcoin drops here. Okay. So could be all the way down 64%. But so initially, the initial reaction to the Fed is, okay, it's 25 basis points. That was pretty much priced in. Now we're just going to drop. We didn't even pump. Okay. We didn't even pump. So what does that mean? That means that people were prepared for this. Okay. Investors were prepared for this. And now we're getting closer to the close. S&P now is coming down more. Okay. It's dumping into the close. That's something to pay attention to on FOMC days. What's happening into the close? This is good because my shorts are going to be doing well. They're all dumping into the close. Okay. Google, Tesla. So that's giving us some confluence here. Now look at this candle for Bitcoin. We have 9 minutes left on this 4H candle. That is brutal. That is brutal. That's not coming back. Okay. If it does come back again, that's a shorting opportunity for Bitcoin. Okay. So look at where it bounced. Look at that, down to the T. Look at this level here. I drew this level yesterday. That was yesterday's weekly. That was a key level. That was a 0.75 level on the weekly. Just bounced off of it initially. Okay, makes sense. Looks like the support level here. Okay, initially, but ultimately, I think that Bitcoin's coming back down to 25,200 at minimum. And Ethereum, we haven't looked at Ethereum really yet because, again, look at this mess. You know, it's just a mess. But now Ethereum is actually already close to the mid from last week. So it's probably going to, I have no idea what this is going to do. I have no idea what this is going to do. But if Bitcoin continues with the weakness that we've seen with ETH BTC, now it is looking like it kind of wants to push back up. So maybe ETH will hold here initially. I'm not interested in trading this right now. I don't like it. It's too messy for me. But what happened? What was the sort of tell? Well, it was struggling above. It's struggling to break back above this 1830 level, but still a deviation above here. 1700. Yeah, it's just not clear. It never actually pushed up above the range highs. I was taking some longs earlier in the week thinking, well, it's got to catch up to Bitcoin at some point. Bitcoin had already broken out above the range. But just like before, where I thought, you know, Ethereum should break back down to the lows of the range and maybe below, as Bitcoin did, it didn't do that. Bitcoin's actually been more volatile than Ethereum over the last several months. So better trading environment for Bitcoin, which I don't mind just trading Bitcoin if that's what needs to happen. We've covered Phantom, we've covered Injective. I'd be looking for shorts, even if Injective came back up and came back and tested this weekly open level, 428. I don't know that it will, but if it did, that's where I'd be looking to enter. Otherwise, if I wasn't in this trade, you see this 388 level for Injective. Look at that, very clear head and shoulders. Maybe it does a breakdown of the monthly and then comes back up and retests this level here at 398. And then that would be sort of a conservative entry for something, because we do often get those dirty retests and it may even push up higher again. It's never really a clear, it's very rare that you see just a very clean head and shoulders like this, but it could happen. I just, for those that maybe are wanting to be more conservative in this. So Matic, I think I covered entries here, but here's the weekly. Notice again, finding resistance at the weekly open. Okay. So, and it's below the monthly. Okay. So these are giving us confluence on, in addition to what's happening with Bitcoin. Optimism, I didn't want to trade this just because, again, it's kind of mid-range. I do think that Optimism has a long way to fall. And it is below the monthly and the weekly open are basically in the same place, holding as key resistance here. So this would have been an excellent place to take shorts, but it's not as clean to me. So you get to pick your battles. You get to pick and choose and not have so much mental bandwidth spread out so thin, because a lot of traders, they spread themselves too thin. I think there's something to be said about having multiple positions, because, like, let's just say that they pump and they dump at different times. So Phantom could really dump and Injective hold steady. And then maybe you take some profits on Phantom, and then Injective dumps. Okay. And Phantom sort of bounces back a little bit. And so it's kind of playing that balance, but I typically choose 2 to 3 alts that I just like the look of it. It's just like, you know, I probably shouldn't use that analogy. I mean, it's like with women, right? You gotta pick and choose. You gotta choose those that are kind of up your alley, right? And they're cleaner, they're nicer, they're good to you. They're not like, you know, it's not just a pretty face. There's a lot of pretty faces out there. Okay, there's a lot of charts that you think, well, this altcoin just looks really attractive to me. But you know what? Phantom looks a lot more attractive to me than Optimism does. And so I'm going to dump Optimism. I'm going to still watch Optimism just in case, you know, she starts to get away, starts to bounce up and becomes attractive. I don't know. She's kind of in waiting in the wings, but Phantom is really the focus, okay? And so I will ride Phantom and Injective and Matic down as far as humanly possible. And yeah, so that's, I mean, that's kind of the summation of my strategy here. AVAX, I haven't really been paying attention to, Tabor, because like, again, when you look at a chart to start out, at least this is what I do. I look and see, where is AVAX? Okay. I look and see where it is relative to recent price action, but also relative to the longer term price action. And AVAX is just, it's not as clean to me. And it's more sort of already in the middle of this range here. Okay. So if we knock out these levels here, and you see it's basically at the mid. So it's not really worth trading. But if AVAX was more up here, I look to see when they're at the extremes and when I see some clean price action. So AVAX hasn't given me that. So what I'll do is I'll have these charts on another list, and I will look and see where they are. Like, look at Dogecoin. This is not really trade worthy to me because it's already down near the yearly open. It's been very, very weak. And so shorting this doesn't really make sense from here because it's already at support. And so it's a very quick scan of these charts. And I do this for both stocks and crypto, but yeah, this is just a mess. I need to erase these levels here. Sand, similar, you know, more of an illiquid altcoin. Already I have that in my mind thinking, okay, that's already one strike against it. But also I keep it on the list just in case I'm thinking of maybe a longer term play, a spot hold if it gets back down to the yearly open perhaps. But where it sits right here, these levels are throwing this off. I'm going to turn that off. So where it sits right here, again, it's sort of in the middle of this range here. Okay, so not really worth trading to me. Atom also just not really worth it here. Just kind of just a choppy mess. BNB, the only reason that I haven't traded BNB actually was a potential here up near the top of this range. I just don't, everything around CZ, and you just don't really know when it's going to pump or dump. I haven't been able to, even though it is cleaner price action, it does follow Bitcoin more closely, I noticed, than any other alt. I haven't been interested in this. Sometimes I'll take a look at it just to see if it is at an extreme level. Now, DYDX, we were shorting from up here, 318. I should have just held on to that one. See, this is an example, but see, notice the dramatic move. I mean, I took profits on this, but notice how dramatic that move was. It already came back down to the mid, and then it bounced almost all the way back up again. So that's what you have to anticipate with the smaller cap altcoins. So not for the faint of heart again. So none of these, like Solana, also Solana, not really in a place where I want to trade it. If Solana had managed to push up above here and then push up to here to this supply zone here, then I would have definitely considered a short up here. I would have traded this range, okay, but it didn't do that. It just sort of hovered around here. If it rejects from this level here, again, it could be a possible short, but it's just not really of interest to me. You've got to pick and choose. Pick your battles, folks. Focus on a few, especially if you're just starting out. Even for me, like after all these years trading, I still just try to limit my trades to 3 at a time. And I sometimes will just focus all on alt. Sometimes I'll just focus on Bitcoin and Ethereum. So we're just continuing to sell off here, folks. I mean, this is not looking good, folks. I mean, we're down below, yeah, that 4H candle. Look at this 4H candle. Who's going to long this? Look at that. That's crazy. I mean, in a way, I'm feeling FOMO because I missed out on that. I wouldn't short this here, but I would short it up higher if it bounced back up again. Maybe we get back to the Monday. That would be the critical test there. Okay, where's the Monday low? 27,245. So if it comes back up here, and then we see some sort of a consolidation pattern, then at that point maybe I would be looking to be a short seller of Bitcoin. It's not too far to go. And usually when you see a 4H candle like this, it will bounce back and retest the mid at some point. Not always, not always, but you see what's happening already right immediately after the 4H closed. Now, this could be short-lived. We don't know for sure, but I would hope that at minimum it should come back up, and we see how it does at 27,300 if it gets there, because that could be a shorting opportunity. But we're just riding the momentum. That's all that you're focused on. Again, I've mentioned this in previous live streams where there's that 1 5-minute candle that usually gives it away. It can be even a 1-minute candle or a 3-minute candle, and if the problem is that most people aren't paying that close attention. Okay, they're not paying close enough attention to catch that. And that's why I think that alerts are a boon for TradingView. I mean, I pay for the highest tier of TradingView. I don't even care what it costs because I want to be able to have as many indicators and alerts as possible. But the alerts have, I mean, there's been times where I'm in the store or I'm at the gym or wherever I am, and that alert goes off and you better believe I'm paying attention. The rest of the time, I don't care. Okay. But so if, you know, let's just say, for example, I mean, this did happen. Let's just, if it weren't FOMC, I mean, this was really the trigger, this 5-minute candle here, because all this was, we did have the strong, ideally it's just, we have that one candle and then it continues. Usually that's the case. You get that one large candle. Usually if it's less than a 2% candle, then I will be actively shorting, because what's happening here is it's very crabby, very small candles, very slight movements, and then boom, 3 to 4 times the size of all these candles. There's your sign, there's your momentum. Get on board, get on the train, follow it down. Okay. But with FOMC, not my cup of tea. I've seen it move the opposite direction, and it's got me before, so I'm not gonna play that way. So I hope that you all found this helpful. Am I selling ARB at launch? I don't even know what's going on with that, but if I had some, I mean, if I had some, I'd probably sell it. When is it launched? Today or tomorrow or something, or the 24th? We don't even have a chart that we can look at for that, right? We have it against Bitcoin and Binance Coin and on Uniswap and PancakeSwap. But what is this? Nothing. It's not anything that we can, okay, so my strategy when it comes to new launches is I don't trade it. Just like FOMC, I don't generally trade immediately with FOMC. Today was an exception because of where the alts were. I won't trade it because there's not enough data. There's no, from a technical standpoint, again, if it feels like a gamble, it's a gamble. If it feels like, well, 50-50, if it's 50-50, then there's no use, there's no sense trading it. That's like going to the casino. And of course, the casino actually is, the odds are not in your favor, but unless you have an edge, then there's no sense trading. Okay, because the edge is what gives you the higher R multiples, so that even if you are only right 50% of the time, when you are right, you end up with a 3, 5, 10 R trade, and you end up in profit overall. And we want that slow, steady rise in our account balance over time. And this is where it's helpful for those of you that are trading actively. Use the analysis features of your platform. I think they all have them. I know MEXC does. And you can see, I think it's mexc.futures.analysis or something like that. You can see your equity curve. You can see your win rate. You can track it over a week, a month, 3 months. Do that regularly. But if you're gambling on something like ARB right when it's being launched, it could drop like a rock and then you're really in the money, or it could really spike up and then you lose. Okay. But so if you are going to trade something like that, like for me, not financial advice, if I was going to trade something like ARB, I would be trading with much less size. I would be mindful of having wider stops and just risk management. That's risk management 101, because the whole object is to stay in the game as long as possible. You want to be one of the last people at the table, and that's how you win at this game. Okay. So as a rule for me, I won't trade something that was just launched. I won't trade it. I don't care what it's doing. Just like I didn't really care, even though I had a sense, okay, Bitcoin's probably going to go down. It's still 50-50 here. Now we have more certainty. When this happened, though, I wasn't focused on Bitcoin. When this candle happened, I started to shift into the alts and see, okay, now I have my conviction, and you see what's happening. It's continuing to sell off. I mean, look at this. This move so far, I've already got almost a 1R on this trade in about an hour, okay? If it continues to sell off from here, Injective being stubborn as hell as usual, but eventually when Injective really gets crushed, man, it's gonna drop like a rock. I mean, it'll stay stubborn for so long, but then when they get crushed, that's game over. Okay, Matic, you see also I got in around a 111 on this, just smaller size on Matic, but when they do finally fall, that's that's gonna, the more that Bitcoin, after a 4H candle like this on Bitcoin, Ethereum, that it's going to be at worst, we're going to have a slow bleed out with alts unless we see a strong boost back up for Bitcoin, which the probability is not in favor of Bitcoin for it to just suddenly rip back up and put in new highs here. The probability is to the downside, just purely based off of the size of the candles that we just saw, and based off of the levels that we hit already, and based off of the fact that Bitcoin entered into a supply zone here today, okay, just today, wicked into it, 15-minute candle, immediately rejected from that supply zone. Many people were calling for 30K. I still wouldn't rule out 30K or 32K. This whole area would be the range that we'd be working with. But now this is not in favor of that. Okay, this is here. And of course, you could also say, well, we haven't yet broken the market structure. From a daily perspective, from a 4H perspective, no, it hasn't happened yet. But again, can you find another candle this large, almost a Marubozu, for this entire run up here? If stocks continue to sell off tomorrow, S&P just finished down 1.7%. Okay? And it's selling off after hours. What does that mean for crypto? It doesn't look good. Okay, it doesn't look like it wants to push up. I think at minimum we revisit 25,200. Never know for sure, but playing probabilities, 50%. I have my edge now, so that now I know, okay, I have a greater than 50% chance that the alts will continue to at minimum bleed out, and best case scenario, they just continue to really drop hard and fast over the next few days. So any other questions before I hop off here? I don't want to be too deep in the streams, and I want to be as helpful as possible. I want to share the alpha, just share what's going on in my mind and how I'm thinking through all of this. So I took out some shorts today in both stocks and crypto. I'm focused on Phantom, Injective, and Matic right now. If I see Bitcoin push up here, back up to the Monday, we're getting closer to it, 27,300 or so. If I see it push up and then we see a rejection there, I might consider a short. I also might consider a short if it comes back down beneath this quarter level here from last week. This is 26,800. Be riding it down to 25,200. That would be the primary target. And then from there, we'd have to reassess and see. It may bounce at 25,200. May see a temporary bounce back up to this level here. And then we get a retest. That would also be a short trigger there. But this could be a scalp long here. So we're just playing this range now between 28,500 and 25,200. That's the main range. And we are sort of somewhat in the middle of this range. So at this point, if I didn't get in up here, which I did not for Bitcoin, then I'm just going to hold off and wait and see what happens over these next couple of days. That's my strategy. That's my plan. I'm sticking to it. I'm not interested in Ethereum right now. I'm not interested in this. But again, notice this here. This is one big deviation. So if we do get back inside here, this could be a short trigger for Ethereum. So beneath the 1700 level, that could be a short trigger, and then targets down at 1645, the mid there. And then this was last week's low here, 1573. Could actually come back down much lower. So if Bitcoin revisits 25,200, then Ethereum most likely will at minimum revisit 1575. So that could be a trade there. Or again, could push back up and maybe an opportunity to fade from 1775. But you see that my bias is to the short side. I don't foresee this really coming back and putting in new highs. I feel like this is most likely, again, I would say maybe there's a 70% chance, just in my view, there's a 70% chance that we're not going to see new highs here, at least not right away. If it does come back here and then it really rips back up again, then I would cover my shorts. I would cover my shorts on the altcoins, and I would wait and see, wait for clarity, wait and see if it can push back up to this level again. It's just bouncing off ping pong levels here. Okay, that's all we're doing. We're just trading the ranges. And if we look at this from a real macro view, and I'm going to show some different levels here just because they are sort of more relevant from a longer term perspective. Now, all I'm doing here is I find the high, find the low from the previous bull and bear market, and then the mid, and then I identify, and then that's just copy pasted all the way up. And what you'll find is that the levels actually hold really well. You can see that we actually were just at a mid level here at this 28,200 level and rejected. So now we see 24K, and somewhere in between that, we're looking at that 25,200 level. But so again, just we have some confluence here with this macro, with this chart here. And yeah, that's all I've got. That's all I've got. I would want to see the Dixie continue to show some strength here. It looks like it did bounce initially. I want to see it maybe form a pattern and push back up. Could come back down and retest again. Not clear yet with the Dixie. But let's see what the VIX did at the end of the day. VIX actually did push up at the end of the day. So a lot of things that it's kind of a strong tell when you see at the very near the close of stocks, when you see that downward sell pressure and you see the VIX come up, the volatility index, and you see the dollar start to find support. Okay, so that could be that we're at that pivotal level here. And especially interesting because Bitcoin actually sold off before all of this happened. It started to really sell off. So Bitcoin here was actually the canary in the coal mine. It did give the early warning that tech was going to sell off. It did give the early warning that alts were going to sell off. That's why Bitcoin is and will always remain the king. It's very clear here. And also very interesting is that silver and gold are really spiking here. Silver's up 2.5% right now. Gold has been at usually gold actually will, yeah, gold is almost at back to all-time highs, and it's also above this very long drawn out range here. If we look on the weekly, this range has been going on since 2020, since around COVID time, right after COVID. Okay, so it'd be interesting to see in the coming weeks if gold really breaks out to the upside, and as people flee from the fiat currencies. I don't think that they're buying what Jay Powell is saying. I don't think that they're saying, he says, well, the bank we continue to be resilient and sound. The banks are stable. Don't worry, everything's fine. It's not. You started the fire. You put out the fire. You're going to make more fires. We know what's going on. It's not crypto's fault. It's your fault. You've been doing this for years. The game's up, and the markets are going to eventually reflect that. So that's my take. I know it's a hot take. I know that there's many people that are fleeing right now because they're fleeing into the mega cap stocks, mega cap, tech stocks. they're fleeing into Bitcoin and gold, but is it going to be sustainable is the question. If you see something and it really spikes up really quickly, gets really excited, what is the likelihood that that's going to continue? I mean, it could spark another bull run, but we have to get in the mind of the people. And the mind of the people is very unstable. And so if the mind and the emotions of the people are unstable, then the markets are going to remain unstable. And that means there's going to be a lot of volatility in both directions, and you have to be willing to play both sides of the coin. That's what it means to me. That's my interpretation. So hi, Manu. Good to see you. I'm curious to hear about Costa Rica. I'm headed there in June, and then I'll also likely be in Nicaragua. And I'm going to be working and trading from over there because the schedule is different and because I'm shifting things up. So it will be nice. It's good to see you back in the stream again. And thank you all so much for tuning in. And I know that I've had 91 views so far. But I know that some of you will watch this later on, and it's fine. It's not about views. It's just about quality viewers. And I have the best viewers out there. You guys are super loyal and dedicated, and I'm really grateful for you. And that's why I'm still doing this. Being perfectly honest, that's the reason I'm still doing this. It's going to continue to be volatile. Try not to overreact. It's going to be up and down, but my bias is clear right now, at least in the short term. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I'm not going to play Arbitrum now. I'm not going to play it. I mentioned why in the stream, earlier in the stream, why I won't play those, won't take those risks. It's a gamble for me. So I hope you enjoyed this stream. Have a beautiful day.